powered by Riverside.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of That's Too Bad, hosted by me, Wally. And here we go. Let's just dive into it. We've had a lot happen since the last time we've chatted. Most recently, the Players' Championship. And what a finish for Scottie Scheffler, a guy that came from, I think he was, 4 back going into Sunday. And he just played phenomenal. There's no other way to put it. Had competition towards the end. I made a huge putt on 18, go 20 under for the Players' Championship, which is 20 under for that tournament alone. I think speaks volumes, and he's not the only one. I mean, the field was very competitive. First time in a few different weeks here, because I think that's been the biggest complaint as of recently from golf fans and even really the golf world in general. You hear a lot of the commentators between the LIV and PGA that the competition on the PGA level just hasn't been as great because a lot of the top players are on the LIV Tour. I think there's some truth and there's some not so some accurate comments there. But we'll get into that in a little bit. But anyways, Players' Championship, as we all probably saw, but refresher, Scottie Scheffler is now not only the defending champ there, goes back-to-back, though, wins the Arnold Palmer last week, or I guess now a little over a week ago, comes and wins the 50th Players' Championship in really a great fashion here. I was hoping for a 3 to 4 man playoff. We had a chance at a 2-man. Wyndham Clark on 18. The ball, it was about 85% in the cup. How that thing popped out for his birdie, I don't know. Works out for Scottie though. This guy's just been on an unbelievable run ever since the putter change, and I don't know if the scruff, the beard that he's growing out is a little bit of a difference maker too. Because here's the thing, Scottie Scheffler's ball striking has just, it's been the same since he's really been on tour. He's been one of the top ball strikers on the PGA level, and really probably if you put him in the LIV conversation, LIV too. His putting is what separated him as of recently, not winning as many tournaments, but still being in contention. And, going into 2024, he made one putter change already, goes from, I think he was playing from a Scotty Cameron, goes to this new putter company that I think like Nelly Corda and a few other pros are going to, called Olsen. Played a couple tournaments. He was playing basically the same putter style, his classic blade putter, and 2 weeks ago goes to the mallet style putter. Is something that we've seen now Rory McIlroy go to. As we all know, Rory started his career with the blade putter and made the transition to the mallet putter a while back now. And we would have to look up statistics here, but Rory's putting has, it's either been red hot or not so much. Probably why we haven't really seen him win too many tournaments over the last 3-4 years, but still one of the top players in the world. Scottie, ever since he's made this change to the mallet putter, his putting has just been complete 180. He's on a pace right now, in my opinion, kind of like an early Tiger Woods. He's almost untouchable. He's 2 tournaments now in 2024. He's won. Everybody knows the Players is the unofficial 5th major, so here we are. He's won already one of the biggest tournaments of the year right out the gate, heading into the Masters. And I don't know how Scottie won't be everybody's top pick to win the green jacket, but again, now you're going to bring in LIV guys in a few weeks who are playing great golf. Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, few others. Joaquin Niemann is playing lights out right now. Has already won a tournament this year on the Live Tour. We'll see what happens. I mean, this is what we're all waiting for, right? Like we were just, how I just mentioned, the golf community has criticized a lot of these smaller tournaments on the PGA Tour because they don't incorporate everybody on tour, which is the Live guys. And again, I think you're splitting hairs here. Yes, I think we all want to see everybody play on the same platform, the same tournament at the same time. We're giving opportunities to other golfers from the Korn Ferry and other smaller tours. Give them a chance. But realistically, let's be serious. We want to see Brooks Koepka, Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, and so forth go up against Tiger Woods, Scottie Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas, etc. We at the end of the day, we all want them on one tournament, one tour. I think we're going towards that. I think PGA this week was meeting with PIF, which is the investment company for Live Golf. I don't know how that will turn out because I think there's still a lot of animosity towards Jay Monahan and the back and forth stuff that's going on with him and the PGA Tour and trying to get a deal going and eventually get these Live guys back and the PGA guys all meshed into one. There's so many logistics that have to occur that does this happen this year? I don't know. I don't think so. Do we take a step forward towards that? Yes. Ultimately, this is what these players want. They want more security in the money. They want more money. And I think some of these bigger players want to play less tournaments. This is going to factor into FedEx points, though, and different things. I mean, we've already seen how the golf rankings, the OWGR rankings are, realistically skewed because the Live guys drop significantly because they claim that their tournaments, they cannot calculate to accurately rank them. I think realistically, we all know where they fall at. But anyways, so going back to Scottie Scheffler, he's one of the hottest golfers right now, and he's been one of the hottest golfers over the last few years. And this putter change, though, I think has really been a huge difference maker. And for the rest of the golf community and the PGA Tour that has to go up against him week in and week out, good luck. Now that he's got the putting figured out, what's going to stop him? We just saw at the Players this past weekend. He strained his neck shoulder area where in between holes, he was letting Ricky Fowler and whoever else in his group go ahead of him and play essentially ready golf or just next up in the order. So he can use that availability to get worked on by, massage physical therapist, whatever it was on his, every swing you could tell he was cringing, but yet guy wasn't missing a fairway, was, throwing darts with his wedges out of the bunker was solid. Even a hurt Scottie Scheffler is dangerous. And this is very oddly similar to an early Tiger Woods. There was no stopping Tiger Woods back in the early 2000s and the late 90s when he figured it out and got it going. And when Tiger got it going, we saw him win major after major after major. Will Scottie be that next Tiger Woods? I think we thought Anthony Kim and then Rory McIlroy were going to be the next Tiger Woods. And well, we all know Anthony Kim fell off the face of the earth after about 2012. And Rory's, after that fourth major, he just hasn't been able to do it. Hasn't been able to complete the career Grand Slam by winning the Masters, the one major he's missing off his resume. And all the other majors, he has struggled. Last year in the Masters, I don't remember. I don't think he made the cut. I have to look back, but regardless, I mean, this guy is number 2, number 3 in the world. And the last tournament I think that I remember him winning was the Scottish Open last year. Usually the tournament right before the Open. So I think Rory still has a long way to go. I think it's frustrating him that he's not winning majors. I think if you watch season 2 of that Full Swing, it's well documented that, especially last year when Brooks Koepka comes out and won his 5th major. Now, as he mentioned, there's guys in his general age bracket, or even younger, are surpassing him in that wins 4 majors, and it's starting to bother him. So I think Rory still, I mean, again, guy is still hitting bombs with the driver. I mean, his length off the tee, 3-wood driver, even his irons. He's still a great wedge player. Like I said, the putting is either it's there or it's not for him for the last couple of years. And I think that's the biggest difference maker. What changes does he have to make? I'm not really sure. But he's got to make something. He's got to change something up, because what he's been doing so far, clearly, he's making money, endorsements, and finishing in the top 20, top 15, top 10, but he's not doing enough, or he's making critical mistakes down the line to cause him not to win that next major. So we'll see what happens with him. But right now, I think I would be more fearful if I'm on the PGA Tour what Scottie Scheffler is going to do. But, I mean, here's the thing. He's expected to be a first-time dad here, I think, in a month or two. So that's awesome for him. He's going to probably take time off, I imagine, being a first-time dad. If I'm on the PGA Tour, take advantage of that time off, because once he comes back, I mean, I'm sure he's going to be practicing as much as he's able to with the newborn. Wouldn't know, but we'll see. I imagine he's going to figure it out and stay ready, because once he is ready to make that return and play at that next tournament after winning his first, or after having his first kid, I'm sure he's going to come and play lights out like he normally does. So yeah. So, but I want to switch gears here a little bit. A few weeks ago, not really a few weeks ago, we've seen 2 big returns in professional golf. Last time we talked, I've talked about Anthony Kim briefly. It probably wasn't briefly, but and I won't talk about him too much. I only got a little bit to talk about him, but I think one that kind of flew under the radar, because it was really about the same time Anthony Kim makes his debut at the LIV Tour, was Bud Cauley on the PGA Tour. Now, I remember him earlier, like 5-6 years ago. I don't recall really remembering how he did, how he played and all that, but something that I did not know when watching, it was the Waste Management Open, was the comment that this was his return to golf in 5 years. So right away, I had to look that up. Why did he disappear for 5 years? Did he lose his card? Was he just not playing well? So basically what I ended up finding out, so for people that don't know, this guy suffered a traumatic leg injury in a car accident back in 2018 in Ohio. I'm looking down right now at my notes here because I want to make sure I get everything right here. Suffered 5 broken ribs, broken leg, and had a collapsed lung. Comment from himself and his dad back then was he was lucky to be alive. Apparently, after he had surgery, he suffered different infections from his colon, fluid buildup on the side of his chest and rib cage. They tried removing, I guess, a plate or 2 from the initial surgery, but eventually they weren't able to remove it because bones and stuff had grown over the plate. And basically, he attempted to make different returns. He practiced and not really re-injured himself, but he just he prolonged it because, again, stitches and stuff were ripping, and he just wasn't, the body just wasn't healing because I think he was itching to get back out into golf. So he really had to take time off completely to fully heal. Well, now fast forward 5 years. I mean, it's not a year, not 5 months, not even 2 years. This guy had sat out for professional golf for 5 years. Debuted essentially this year at the Phoenix Open. Finished 65th, made the cut. So you're playing in your first term in 5 years, make the cut, and it's a chaotic scene for not just the golfers but anybody. So to make your debut at one of the most chaotic tournaments ever, make the cut, finish top 65, I would say that's one of the biggest accomplishments he's going to have in his career. Not a major, not the excess millions of dollars that he's going to accumulate. Returning from a traumatic car accident, being able to play professional golf again, something he obviously truly loves to do, is going to be the biggest accomplishment. I mean, for my opinion, I would think that's a huge accomplishment. And then recently played in the Cognizant, trying to say that right, trying to say that fast too, Classic, and again made the cut, finished in the top 20, I think, top 25, finished 21st. So I mean, just overall, I mean that's an incredible story that I think again kind of flew under the radar unless you watched the Waste Management or Cognizant tournaments on TV, because I know they did briefly mention it, and like myself, and I'm sure other avid golf fans had to go back and look up what happened. Why was Bud Cauley out of golf for the last 5 years? So it's great seeing him back on tour. Hopefully this year we see more success, top 15s, top 10s, and maybe a win here. That guy has a lot of talent, and now that he's healthy, with all that rehab and surgeries he had to endure, it's great to see his story back on tour, competing again. And like I said, I think this was overshadowed by, now here we go on the Live Tour side, and Anthony Kim makes his debut, same weekend, same general weekend. And here's the thing. I think people expected Anthony Kim to come out and win the Jeddah, the tournament he debuted in. I think if you thought he was going to win any type of professional golf tournament after 12 years of not just playing, hasn't owned his own set of clubs in 12. I mean, the stuff that's coming out as of recently about him is pretty wild. I mean, right now he's playing with just stock clubs and a putter, nothing that he's been fitted for. So, I mean, it leads you to wonder what happened to the clubs that he used to play back in the late 2000s with. I mean, again, I think those were Titleist or Nike clubs because he was a big Nike guy. And it really is wild for a guy to, for us average golfers, that's what we do. We go to the PGA store, we go to Golf Galaxy, we go to our local pro shops, and we go find some shit on the shelf because we saw so-and-so on Sunday in the PGA or any type of tournament use a variation of this club, and go spend $300-$400 or thousands of dollars if you're doing the whole set to have that in our bag and play like maybe shit the next day. And Anthony Kim is a professional golfer on the Live Tour, and essentially did the same thing. He went and got stock clubs, was not fitted for him or anything, and here he is playing in professional tournaments. So, I mean, it's a wild story. But here's the other thing. I think, again, he got ripped to shreds, on how he played in the first again, Live Tours, three-day tournaments. I think he kind of got ripped to shreds on, his ball striking and putting and stuff. Listen, you take 12 years off of golf, don't touch a club, you don't practice nothing, and go play a round of golf after that. His first tournament at the Jeddah, shooting 76 all 3 days. I mean, I would take that. I thought that was pretty impressive. Yes, he did some stuff that is not good. He had a couple shanks. He was wild off the tee with the driver. He had hard time with the speeds of the greens with chipping and even his putting. But there were glimpses of, that we're going to move in the right direction with ball striking. And the swing looks exactly the same as it did 12, 13, 15 years ago when he first got on tour. So it's just going to be a slow progress. Now, he just recently played in Hong Kong, which I think was a week or two after, and he ended up playing the last day, I think, was it 67 or something like that. He ended up playing very well. I think he had about five birdies, maybe one bogey, a lot of pars. He is progressing a lot quicker than a lot of people, I think, now we're anticipating after the Jeddah. I think after the Jeddah, everybody's like, oh, here we go. Finished last place, whatever. This guy's washed up. Why did he come back? Blah, blah, blah. If you thought that, you're dead wrong. I didn't see a washed-up golfer. I saw a guy that was happy to be back out there. He was walking around with his caddy. He looks like a casual Sunday golfer. Polo's untucked. He's not wearing the famous big AK buckle on his belt. I don't think he wore a belt at all, to be honest with you, that we've known him to do when he was younger. And he was, talking it up with the caddy, just walking. It looked like he was just enjoying a round of golf, to be honest with you. And maybe he was. I think we're going to see a lighter side to the Anthony Kim versus back 15 years ago, the guy that had all this fire inside to take down everybody around him. Now, he did come out and say that he was going to whoop a lot of asses this on the Live Tour. So I think the competitive spirit's still there, but I think, he knows that this is going to take some time, and I think he's moving in the right direction. So, he's now going to play in the States coming up here for the first time in 12 plus years. So this will be interesting to see, again, how he continues to progress this year in the Live Tour. He looks healthy. He's got the long hair. He's got the full sleeve tattoo. I'm excited to see what's going to happen for him in this year on not just the Live Tour, but in golf in general. He just played, and I think in a Asian or DP, not the DP. It might have been an Asian Tour event recently. Didn't make the cut, but again, he's playing a lot of golf now. He's wanting to. And for all the AK fans out there that have been wanting this for 12 years, this is exactly what we want. This is what we like to see. Him not being down on himself after finishing last place in a tournament with a lot of the top golfers in the world. He came back out the next week, flew to Hong Kong and played in another tournament, then played in another tournament. And we hope to continue to see that trend for him. So it's good to see him again. Good to see both Bud Cauley and Anthony Kim back playing professional golf at a competitive level, and expect big things for them this year. Shifting a little gears here. We're going to stay on topic here a little bit about the PGA and Live. I know we're beating this like a dead horse, and the media and everybody else does as well when you turn on the Golf Channel and all that. So I'm not going to talk about this topic too much here, but it's Paul Azinger a few weeks back made a comment, and I'm reading it off my screen here directly because I don't want to misquote it. He said, and I quote, "The best players aren't all playing PGA Tour tournaments. That's over." He continues to say, "Let's just say it like this. The PGA Tour has fast become the qualifier for Live, and it's a sad day for golf," end quote. How do I react to a comment like this? I don't think he's necessarily wrong. I think he's a little drastic with this comment. Yeah, there's a lot of guys that have gone from the PGA Tour to the Live Tour. And, it's one of those things where it's like, do you blame these guys? They're getting paid guaranteed money up front. They're playing less tournaments. I mean, it's the same shit we talk about that I've talked about on the first episode. I think even my second episode. So the same shit, different month, different week that I'm recording, and same with the media. It's you can't blame these guys for taking an opportunity that was given to them. They took guaranteed money up front. Okay, financial stability in this world, in this economy we're in, especially if you're in America, we need it. Even though you're making millions of dollars on PGA Tour, but again, you're not guaranteed if you don't make cuts. And for guys, and their last year in the tour, like Brooks Koepka, who was hurt, he was struggling to make cuts. And if you're a golfer that doesn't have endorsements locked down to help you really pay for your bills and your lifestyle, which not every golfer is lucky to be like Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy and Phil Mickelson and John Rahm and so forth. It's, what do you do? Greg Norman created an opportunity for a tour with an investment group, and these select golfers took advantage of it. Is it right? Is it wrong? I'm not going to answer that. I don't have something. I'm not going to talk here about that today. Just in relation to Paul Azinger's comment, though, we're seeing more guys see what's going on over at Live, the dynamic, the more freedom. And now when I say freedom, I'm talking about they have more time for family and relaxing and rehab and whatever else is going on in their life. And I think it's very appealing more and more each day to golfers on the PGA Tour. I think everybody's loving it, which is why we're not seeing everybody go over. But I think more and more we're seeing more guys on the PGA go, I wonder if I can get over there. So again, this is where I'm this could be a little bit of a drastic comment, but at the same time, I don't think he's completely wrong, because again, a lot of the top golfers from the PGA have left to go to Live, and that's Dustin Johnson, Patrick Reed, Brooks Koepka. Throw in Phil Mickelson, I guess, in there. I mean, because he did win the U.S. Open a couple years ago. I think it was the U.S. Open. And Joaquin Niemann and so many other guys. I mean, really, the Live Tour is full of all-stars. And PGA still has very qualified, great golfers. Rory, JT, Jordan Spieth, and so forth. I just think there's been a lot of inconsistency from those select guys. So now it makes the Live guys really shine. So, that's really all I want to say on this matter. If anybody wants to message me, DM me, whatever, with their comments, their thoughts, and, let's have not an argument, but let's have a conversation about it. Hit me up on my social medias here, Twitter or X, whatever it's called nowadays, Instagram, and TikTok and all this stuff, and let's talk about it, because I'm curious what other people are thinking when Paul Azinger makes comments like this. I'm curious what everybody out there is thinking as we continue in this PGA versus Live life that we're in. I mean, this is now our third season into this. And even though we're trying to move towards the dynamic of merging, I'm just curious what everybody out there is thinking, their thought process and so forth. So I've talked about on the first episode here that I want this to be also a podcast for amateur golfers. Again, I'm not qualified to tell people what they're doing wrong, how they're doing it wrong, because I still have a lot of issues that I'm working through in my own golf swing and my own golf game. And I'm hoping to improve this year too. I'm trying to go from a 4 handicap. I'm a 4.1 right now. I'm trying to get down to a 1 to 2. It's going to be leaps and bounds for me this year. And I'm putting in the work at the range, lessons. Hopefully I can get to that. Just continuous drills and different things that I'm working on. But as amateur golfers and our classic weekend, Saturday for the boys, Sunday for the boy golfers, whatever you want to fucking call it, you hear the same shit weekend and week out. Like the guy that can't break 80. Oh my God, shot 80 on the dot, shot 82, another 85. The guys that continues to complain and are expecting by the next weekend when they go play something to miraculously happen. I've always laughed because it's like, because then the next round happens. Oh, shot 82 again. Can't break 80. What'd you do between now and the last time you shot 82 and you didn't break 80? Oh, I went to the driving range and I hit driver, hit 4-iron. Some guys don't even go to the range. I get it. Everybody's busy, work, family, different things are going on. You want to, do different things. Hey, I'm the same way. I'm not here to criticize. I'm just saying, like, as amateur golfers, let's be realistic. Let's not be so hard on ourselves when stuff doesn't change right away. I think the moment we buy a new club or someone looks up on YouTube how like Phil Mickelson hits this wedge shot, this flop shot, so I'm gonna do it. I think when it doesn't work out or they think, hey, they know how to do this, the score's going to drop 5 to 10 strokes. It don't happen like that. I mean, it's just, how do we get better though as amateur golfers? I mean, we got to take advantage of the stuff that's around us, like, or even around our house. I mean, just going in our backyard with our wedge, a simple drill is just putting a hula hoop or a piece of string and making a circle if you got it. We got rope, string, something, bungee cords at our house. I'm almost positive 99.9% of us. Go take a bunch of them, make a circle in your backyard, front yard, wherever, on the side of your house where there's grass, and just take a few different golf balls or take however many golf balls you got and take your wedge and start out with 5 yards, back it up to 10 yards, and get as many golf balls in that circle as possible. No, it's not a green, so you're not going to see the ball spin and maybe check or anything like that. As amateur golfers, we're not trying to do that right now. Again, it's just taking advantage of the stuff that's around us. Even just simply going and taking a club, taking your phone camera, and just looking at your swing and looking to see where your hands are going. Are you going more up? Are you going all the way back and kind of swooping, scooping, stuff that I've also struggled with, scooping because your wrists are getting underneath and stuff like that. It's just, if we're not going to go to the driving range to practice because people think practice isn't going to do much, I'm going to get better at the course. Yes and no. You're going to get better, I think, in different scenarios. But as far as ball striking and chipping and stuff like that, I don't think you progressively get better on a course that way. That happens on the range. You're going to work on hand positions on your club and stuff like that. You're doing that on the range. Trying to change stuff on the course just does not work. And watch professional golf. When stuff's not working, they're not necessarily, I think, trying to make changes for the rest of their career on that course right now. They might be trying to change a little bit of something. Now, again, because they're professionals, they might know what they need to change. But as amateurs, that's something that I think we see and struggle with is something doesn't work out while we're in the middle of our round. And initially they're going to say, oh, I think I know what it is. Do we though? Again, I'm very big on getting lessons or going to the driving range. Again, I'm a big practice guy. I try to go to the range as much as possible, work on different things. Again, not everybody has that kind of time. And I could sympathize. But again, I think there's things like I said, you could do around your house that can help get better, form that muscle memory, driving your hands forward and stuff like that, where you don't necessarily have to go hit a golf ball. You could just continuously do stuff in your backyard. It's getting nicer outside in the Midwest where I'm living. I mean, my backyard is 3 feet wide and 20 feet long or something like that. I go out and I just swing my club and just rip up my grass because what do I care? My dog's already ripping up my grass playing fetch with him. So I just continue to make divots where I'm at and just graze grass with my wedges. And sometimes I'll go out there and I'll just kind of do like little chip shots to see how close I can get to the fire pit. Just different things will eventually build the success on the golf course. And again, we need to be realistic. We're trying to knock off a couple strokes at a time. We're not trying to knock off 10. And it's just understanding, again, the course management. I think, I've mentioned this before in the first episode. It's understanding situations that you're in on the golf course. If you're under a tree, or is it worth trying to go for a green in 2 when you can punch one up there closer, get a nice wedge in, and get it close to enough to where you have a very good chance of getting a birdie versus, potentially slicing your 3-wood or hooking it or topping it, which is very common because I think people think your 3-wood is like a driver where you got to help it up and scoop it up, but it's like an iron. You got to compound it and compress it through into the grass and let the club then do the work for you, get it up in the air and stuff. So yeah, it's just like little things here. Again, I'm not a professional. I'm not a certified PGA coach or any of the sorts. So take my words of wisdom, if you want to call it like that, with a grain of salt. Again, I have a lot of stuff I'm working through right now. If you're interested, I'm going to post later this week my latest driving range session where I use my Rapsodo device, whatever you want to call it, launch monitor. And that's where I have a bunch of videos to show that I'm struggling right now with my right heel. I rotate a lot on my right heel because my hips kind of stall out, and which causes then my hands to kind of scoop. So I've been really working on trying to drive the hands, get the hips to roll over, and rotate and pivot on my right foot on the balls of my feet and my toes, not my heel. So again, I mean, as a guy who's a 4.1 handicap, I still have a lot of shit I got to work through. I'm working on also still adjusting with wedges, dialing those in from different yardages. And I mean, a couple years ago, I thought my putting was very good. Last year, my putting, I think, was so-so. And so now I really want to dial in my putting. And when I go to the driving range, especially in the summertime, I break it out into 2 segments because I'll be there from like between an hour and a half to 2 hours. First hour or so, I'm hitting golf balls. And I adopted something from Full Swing that I learned from Matthew Fitzpatrick when, if you watch the episode, he's talking to his brother about going to the range and not hitting every club in your bag because it's not needed, because you're not going to necessarily learn and get that stuff dialed in, hitting 14 club or 13 clubs. For some guys might even have 17, 18, 20 clubs, depending on type of golfer you are. And he recommended his brother, one day, why don't you hit odd numbers and then the next day you hit even. So that's what I kind of started doing last year, and I kind of liked it because I can really then spend more time on those clubs with the range balls that I get, and just build the more consistency with those clubs, going from a 9 to 7 to a 5 to my 3-iron. And then I'll hit 3-wood and driver, but I won't hit as much because I know I'm going to hit them again probably in a day or two when I want to go hit 8, 6, 4-iron. And then I always hit the wedges no matter what. I hit full wedges, and then I'll hit like little bump and runs and stop, little chippy wedges. Local ranges always have the buckets, the nets and stuff, so I'm always trying to hit to different nets and whatever. And then I go to the putting green or the chipping green, and I'll spend the next 45 minutes to an hour over there. I'll do different chips, different scenarios, trying to go over a bunker, close, far. I'll try to hit different ones up in the air to get them to stop and just plop. I'll try to hit low spinners. And then I'm working on putting, uphill, downhill, left and right breaks, and all that stuff. Again, my way of practicing is not going to be something that's appealing to a lot of other people or want to put that kind of time in. I get it. That's just me. I like to practice, and I like then to have my practice show on the course. Again, people can maybe critique me and say you're spending too much time practicing. It could be possibly true. I could probably spend less time. I don't know. It's just something I like to do, though. But I digress. Well, I want to also just mention here that we got another good segment here coming up on this episode here. I have now JP Burke, Korn Ferry caddy, joining me here. So he's going to we're going to just talk about different things going on with him, what it's like to be a caddy on the Korn Ferry Tour, and, what he expects between him and who he's caddying for this year, and expectations for moving forward years from now and stuff like that, and their drive to bigger and better things in the golf professional world here. So enjoy this segment with JP Burke. All right, we got JP Burke over here. First time hosting a caddy on the podcast here. JP, thanks for joining the show, and how are you doing?
Doing swell, Wally. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So for people that don't know, I mean, obviously I just mentioned you're a caddy, but for the listeners, just a little brief intro on who JP the caddy is right now.
Sure. Yeah, JP the caddy. This is his first time. It's my first season doing it full time. I had been caddying for the guy I'm caddying for now, Austin Hitt, just once a year for the past 2 seasons when he was on Latin America Tour, which is now PGA Tour Americas. But I was working different jobs. I was working in software and then property management. So I'd have 1 week off, go. We at first went to Guadalajara, Mexico with him. And the next time it was Bogota. And both those events we came in second. So by the end of the second season he had on the Latin America Tour, and it turned, because he got promoted to the Korn Ferry Tour. He's like, I was telling him, because at that point I wasn't liking my job. And I was like, hey, I'd like to officially throw my name in the hat to be your full-time caddy. And that was all it took. He's my childhood best friend. So, I've played all different types of sports with him. So just from a teammate's perspective and a friend's perspective, I know how to be a really good friend and teammate to him. So the caddy thing kind of comes naturally.
Well, that's sweet. Yeah, I mean, I guess that kind of answers what my next question was going to be: is how did you become not only his caddy but a caddy in general? It's a sweet story. I don't know if you've watched the documentary on Netflix. Everybody loving the full swing, and then you get to see the caddy relationship between Gino and Joel David. So I got to ask, is that caddy relationship very common, not only with you and who you're caddying for, but with the other caddies that you kind of get to mingle with and you get to see on the Korn Ferry Tour and other tournaments? Is that kind of how it is for a lot of them?
Oh yeah. I mean, there's a wide range of varieties of different caddies, just like there's different types of players. So there's golf genius caddies that their job is to know, every single shot, every single read of every putt, and that's what they're there to do. And then there are just best friends that are out there and that don't know anything about golf. And then there's everything in between. It really does matter just what the player needs and wants. So like Gino for Joel, he's a fun-loving guy. Obviously knows a lot about the game of golf. He's been doing it with Joel for a while, but at the end of the day, he creates an environment that is fun, not just for 1 week, but for a whole season, which is big. It's like you can't just say the same jokes every week, or have a lot of energy 1 week and then have zero energy another week.
Yeah.
You got to keep that flat line of you're genuinely excited to be there, but it's not like you're bouncing off the walls. It's like, you're showing your player you want to be there. You show up on time. All the little things are done correctly. Obviously their clubs are always clean. They always have water in the bag, ready for whenever they need it. The towel's always wet on one side, dry on another. And then slowly but surely, you can help the player out a little bit. But players these days are, they're so smart and just have so much data at their disposal with, lasers and 18 birdies, or like the GPS to show you you can look at any course before you even step foot there. So it's like more and more a caddy's job is just to create an environment week after week that puts the player in the best state of mind and allows him to compete at his best every week. So
yeah,
it depends what the player is. My player, Austin, he is an extremely smart and cerebral player. So even if I was the smartest caddy out there, he wouldn't be conferring with the caddy too much, because in his head, if he brings another person's input in, all of a sudden, if it's not exactly in line with what he's thinking, now there's two conflicting thoughts. So he likes to put it all on himself, and then I'm literally there as like the guy on the basketball bench, like getting hyped for his teammates, like literally keeping the good vibes, getting conversation going with the other golfers and other caddies in our group to maintain just that this is just a group of dudes playing some golf on the weekend, and kind of pop the pressure of this is a high stakes tournament.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up an interesting and good point, because I think we see it now, especially a lot in golf. We're watching on TV at the different levels, and I think it's compared to, I would assume probably early 2000s, and probably even before that, golf was where caddies were, I think, more or dependable as far as the yardages and different things, where now the players have kind of really owned that portion of it. It seems like, I mean, you see and hear the conversations now with all the technology that we have with all these different microphones at tournaments when you're watching them on TV, and the players' knowledge and the stuff they're spewing out, I mean, sometimes goes over my head what they're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
Where I'm like, no, it looks like it's just a simple 100 yards. We got to clear 90 10-mile-per-hour wind right to left. What else? But then they start breaking down the grain of the grass, the type of grass. It's wild that the thought process that's a lot of the golfers in this modern era have. Where I that's where I was curious. Like as a caddy, is it we've gone from like the old school like Fluff and even Bones Mackay, who I'm sure those guys are known for helping with the yardages and they're pacing stuff off and they're looking at the wind and the grass. And now there's like players that are like similar to like Bryson DeChambeau. They're the ones going to tell the caddy what they see. And, I'm guessing the caddies, are, unless it's what, in your perspective, unless you think it's completely dead wrong, is that when you would jump in and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking? Versus trying to like, always disagree with their mindset, go along with it, unless you just think it's completely not in the deck of cards there?
It's a good question. It's a little more nuanced than that. It's the decision's always going to be the golfers, and a confident decision by the golfer is always going to be a better decision, even if it's wrong. As long as it's confident, he's probably going to hit the ball better than if he has the right answer, but he's not fully confident on it, or he felt like he made the wrong read. So our job is really as caddies, like I'm drawing a blank on Scottie Scheffler's caddy's name. Drawing a blank, but he's been a caddy for over 20 plus years, and if you watch him, he does a great job of making it seem so simple. He provides Scottie with all the data necessary for Scottie to then make the decision. So that's kind of what we're there to do. It's not that I would ever tell Austin, no, I don't agree with you on this shot. It's more if he is saying, "Oh, I think I might go with this club," and there is any sort of disagreement on it, instead of saying, "Oh, I think this way," it's more of like a reminder that the wind is picking up, or we're kind of hidden by the trees right now. So we're going to be as active, above the trees. Let him have that reminder of what's going on. But if he goes, no, I like 7 here, boom, that's the right answer. It's like just making sure he has all of the data in order to make a confident decision. And if he makes a confident decision, that's better than a non-confident correct decision every time. So it's weird. It's like you never want it to be. You never want to give your player no, I don't think that's right. It's more. Here's an additional piece of information that maybe you change your mind a little bit, but hey, if that's your choice, let's go with it. Let's ride.
Yeah, almost like the equivalent of like back in school, like the teacher's going to keep giving you different hints, but they want you to ultimately get to the answer yourself. So I guess that's kind of what you're, as a caddy, you're just going to continue giving the facts, and you're not convincing them to go in one direction or to choose a certain club. You're just, hey, I'm going to provide you all the facts that I see right now in front of us, and basically give them that tool to, hey, make the decision, stay confident with the decision, and let's get it on the green here.
Exactly. Now, and I can call a spade. Like if Austin is standing over a shot and I'm watching his pre-shot routine, and he's already gone through it 3 times more than the regular just one time through. He's obviously not very confident in the shot, or he's thinking a little bit too much on it. So then in that moment, you can say, hey, let's talk about this. Let's step off the ball. I don't know. You're not really convinced me that this is the right shot right now. Like just giving that hey, I'm noticing you're not full sending this shot. So let's take a step off and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah.
Not that I'm going to say anything that he doesn't know, but talking about it, getting the thoughts out of his head so we can get a clear-headed golf swing.
Yeah. And so I guess I'm also curious because, I think you see in like similar in your situation, you and Austin versus a lot of the other caddy golfer relationships. A lot of these guys have known each other for a long time since they were kids and stuff like that. And you kind of really see, I mean, it definitely shows, especially when you're watching, on the PGA Tour, those certain relationships. And I think what's kind of funny and cool at the same time is like when something doesn't go right, you can kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe at that exact moment, but later on you can kind of laugh about it. I guess one instant that really pops up in my mind is I don't know how long, this might be 3, 4, 5 years ago. I think it was at East Lake, was when Paul Casey on 18 thought he got a 4-iron in his hand from his caddy, but gave him a 3-iron, flushed it, and went flying over the green. And the caddy's reaction was hilarious. I forget his name, but I know he's been with Paul Casey for a long time, and his reaction was priceless because he looked like he just had like the fear of God. Oh my, I'm gonna get fired. And Paul's reaction was he just started laughing. So I think it's kind of cool seeing that relationship. So I guess my question for you in Austin's relationship, you guys have known each other for a long time. Do you guys have those kind of moments where you guys, something doesn't go right, you can kind of go, yeah, that was probably not great, and maybe laugh about it. Maybe later in the day, not maybe not in the round, but maybe later that day over a couple drinks or something.
Maybe later in the day, for sure after the tournament has ended. Like he's like, while you're still in the tournament, you each day you feel a little bit of the pain from each tiny mistake. But I mean, his biggest blow up that I have seen while on the bag for him, he was not laughing about it at the end of the tournament, but we have laughed about it multiple times since the conclusion of the tournament. So yeah, it's there's definitely maybe a 72-hour wait period before you can make a joke about it. But then after you get past the 72 hours, everything's open game.
There, that sounds good. As we see through a lot of social media, YouTube, and now even like on TV and stuff, especially with like the Netflix series, we get to see the golfers, like what goes on before they get to the first tee, how they warm up, even just like signing in and stuff. Something I think we don't ever get to really see is what are the caddies doing in preparation while the golfers are warming up and stuff. So I'm curious, like maybe yours is different than other caddies, but what is JP doing during the warm up process with Austin, without him, leading up to that first tee?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I would think my process is pretty similar than the rest of the caddies, but it starts with either the night before or the morning of. I check Korn Ferry Tour communications on Twitter, and they came out with the pin locations for that day. So I will draw them out in my yardage book. Like on the actual greens themselves, just so we can visualize where they are on that green.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't talk about it before, but just so I have it ready. And I then in the morning do the wind report. So starting from our tee time to 5 hours past, make sure we have the wind dialed in for the day. I then write down our tee time, what tee we're starting at, and who we're playing with. So that's all in the front of my yardage book. Then once we actually get to the event, we always get there about an hour and a half before tee time, so that we have 30 to 40 minutes of eating and doing whatever we need to do before actually swinging the club. So whether he's warming up or use the restroom, whatever you got to do, so that right about 50 minutes before tee time, he's starting to putt. So in that time, I am starting to dry all the grips, because in the morning there's condensation. So drawing all the grips of the clubs, using my brush to get through all the grooves of the clubs, make sure the faces are clean. Once he's done putting, we get to the driving range. He starts shooting his shots. As he's working through each of the clubs, I'm collecting 5 to 6 perfectly unscratched balls out of all the range buckets and keeping them dry so that when he starts to hit his driver, he has a dry ball so it doesn't just slide off the face and has no scratches on him, so there's no risk of him breaking his driver before the round starts. But most days he's plugged in. Like he doesn't like to talk too much before the round. He likes his quiet time. So I'm making sure he's drinking water throughout the whole time. I got my sunscreen on before the round starts. And honestly, I try to make it a point that I'm chatting it up with at least one other caddy or player beforehand, just to it sounds lame, but get loose myself in terms of conversationally, because that's what I kind of have during the round is a fun, relaxed golf environment. So, that's what I do every time. Most caddies do a pretty similar setup, but doing all that, especially the stuff the night before, allows me to just be relaxed and enjoy the morning as opposed to trying to make all the pin locations as he's warming up and kind of freaking out or catch up on my work. Getting that all done the night before so that I can really enjoy the morning and show off that I'm prepared, confident, and let's go have a fun day, as opposed to I gotta get this done. Like the players are like dogs. Like when a dog sees someone who's nervous or scared, like they start showing their teeth and they start growling. Players can see that with their caddies. It sounds crazy because I try to be as cool, calm, collected as I can be pre-round, social, because it shows other players it's like, okay, cool, that's my guy. He's ready to rock.
Yeah. If he sees you're nervous, then he might start wondering why is my caddy getting all nervous? Now I'm starting to get nervous.
Exactly. This guy's supposed to be confident. Why is he nervous?
You said Austin's pretty reserved and quiet while he's warming up, getting ready for the round. Is it different when we're on the course? And I know that's a loaded question because I'm sure it's going to depend on how well or not well he's playing. So I guess let's do the latter. He's playing well. Is he type the guy that's going to chat it up with who you guys are playing with that day, or chat it up just with you, or is he still pretty reserved as a golfer? Because I know there's golfers out there when they're playing well, they'd really like to maybe not entirely zone out everything and everybody, but block out a lot of it because I'm playing well. And I know we got other golfers that they start playing well, so they're pretty loose out there. They want to have fun because they know they're playing well. So, as a curiosity question, what's Austin like?
He's pretty consistent once the round starts. He is a social golfer. Right before the tee, on the first tee box, introduces himself to the other players and caddies. We'll crack a couple of jokes there just to establish hey, I'm open to talking this round. And then right off the bat, he hits his shot, and we're walking to our next shot in the fairway, and he's asking the golfer where he's based out of, how long he's been on tour. He really does enjoy keeping a social round, not overly social, like a conversation every other hole, but it really does loosen us up, just interacting with everyone else in your crew, in your group that day. It creates an environment like you're literally just Saturdays with the boys, hanging out.
Yeah.
So we try to create that as much as possible.
Yeah. Does he? I know you hear stories about golfers pulling some pranks on their caddies. Has he pulled any pranks on you? Loaded the golf bag up with some extra weights there, anything like that?
Oh no! Now you're gonna give him ideas. No, luckily I've steered clear from any rookie hazing. No, yeah. Luckily, he has kept me clear of any cold pranks.
Well, let's keep it clean slate then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So for people, I mean, even myself, like I do watch Korn Ferry tours when I get a chance, when I see them on the Golf Channel and stuff like that. But you don't get to understand the full development of the Korn Ferry Tour as a viewer and as a fan. So for like myself included, but for the listeners out there, the Korn Ferry Tour is obviously as basic as I could put it, like the minor leagues, right? We're working our way to get onto the PGA Tour. So, right, there's not the glamorous lifestyle in certain aspects that the PGA Tour, once you get there has. If I'm wrong, please correct me, because I'm guessing like the traveling aspect can get pretty brutal at sometimes, depending where you guys are at and tournament wise and stuff like that. And I know the money is not as vast as it obviously is in the PGA, that we continuously hear on the news and the Golf Channel how they're continuing trying to increase the value of the PGA Tour ever since the Live Tour came about. So I'm just, kind of, curious, like the ins and outs of the Korn Ferry Tour, not so much like the tournament, but just the overall. I mean, you guys are new to the Korn Ferry Tour this year, right? Is what you said. So how's it been on the Korn Ferry so far for you guys?
It's been going well. I guess I can answer it in two parts. Like first, like the glamour side. That's the crazy part about the Korn Ferry Tours. It is such a spectrum. Like the top 50, 60 guys are actually making a killing. Like they make a good amount of money.
Yeah.
It's the first tier of golf where you can make real good money. But on it's also all your expenses have. It's the first big jump of all your expenses. So these guys, it's kind of like they got to win $80,000-$90,000 to break even in a year. So if you're in the top 50, 60 people, you're doing that and then some. That's an awesome year, and you're living comfortably, and you're playing golf for a living, and you're sponsored by a few companies. Yeah, it's like for a good amount of guys on tour, it is the beginning of a pretty cushy lifestyle. But if you're not in that top 60, 70 range, you're losing money. So that's been such an interesting thing for me to kind of see what makes a professional last. Isn't as much as, I mean, of course, being a great golfer is important, but you really got to be a great entrepreneur as well. Like the guys that are making it last are finding ways to, they're reaching out to sponsorship deals. They're getting themselves some financial runway so that they can survive a little bit longer to get another chance of making it to the top. So that's been a kind of a mind-blowing thing for me. It's like the guys who are the legitimate professionals, they are also like business professionals as well. They're giving themselves that financial runway. But then in terms of the travel with Korn Ferry, I mean, the travel with golf period is nuts. Whether you're on the PGA Tour or you're on the PGA Tour Americas, it's you arrive to a tournament on Monday morning, Monday afternoon. You are immediately going to the course to get at least 9 holes in, some practice. Tuesday, you get back to the course, get hopefully 18 holes walking, and then a little bit more practice. Wednesday, you might play in the Pro-Am. So you get 9 holes with 3, randoms, amateurs, which these guys, when they're at the event, they want to they want to practice, get really high quality looks, and sometimes when you're paired with, you know, three amateurs who don't play golf that much,
Yeah.
it can be a great time, which a lot of times it is for us, but other times it's like, oh dang, like it really puts just like a block in the flow of your practice. And then the event starts Thursday, and you got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Sunday night. Like as soon as the tournament ends, we're going to the airport to fly to the next one.
Yeah.
So it really we are on a 3-week break right now, so we got 2 more weeks until we leave for Savannah, Georgia, and that's really like our only time off. Like once we leave for Savannah, it's like there's something every single day. You're either golfing or traveling to the next spot every single day. So it is tiring. It is ever more important to have a caddy that you mesh with, just personality type wise, because oh man, if you can't stand the guy that's looping with you 18 holes week after week, that like it quickly gets old. So yeah, it's,
I guess
the travel is pretty nuts.
I guess I never knew or realized that the flow of the whole week is pretty much identical to a PGA event with practice rounds, pro-ams, and then play the tournament. So it's pretty wild. So I guess you really, I guess I'm curious and kind of thinking out loud at the same time. But when you see a lot of these guys go from the Korn Ferry to the PGA, I mean, I'm not saying it's a smooth transition, but you see a lot of guys that seem to acclimate pretty well. Obviously, again, minus, I'm sure the conditions of the course are probably a little bit tougher, or just depending on where you're playing. But you never see guys, I think, struggle with that extra demand, which I always thought was the practice rounds and the pro-am leading into your 4-day tournament. So it's kind of cool to hear that the Korn Ferry Tour does that as well. So these guys, including the caddies and yourself, when you guys get to that next level, you guys have the muscle memory and the stamina. It's just now you got different competition. Now you got the Rory McIlroys and the Jordan Spieths that you're going up against. Just a little different scenario, but same stuff, right?
Yeah, it's great preparation. It's the same skeleton, but just up in the ante a little bit. It is incredible preparation for the big show, because there's a lot more than just golf that you have to learn in being a professional golfer. So Korn Ferry, PGA Tour Latin America and Canada, which is now America's Tour, also did a great. It's exact schedule, just for lesser stakes. So it's like PGA Tour really does have a great feeder system, minor league baseball comparison for the PGA Tour.
Yeah. So I'm also wondering too. So again, I feel like I've been beating this like with a dead horse on a lot of my previous episodes, talking PGA versus the Live Tour, and I guess we don't get to hear too much from the Korn Ferry side. Is there a lot of chatter, concern when all these Live Tour erupts and we see certain golfers go over there, take the guaranteed money and stuff like that? Now, from Korn Ferry perspective, I'm guessing, but correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, now that's creating openings for guys from the Korn Ferry, extra openings, I guess, maybe too, right? To go jump to the PGA at some point. It's during 3 years ago when that took off. But now we hear a lot of the back and forth, the PGAs trying to get more money, and potentially it might come from the same investment group as Live Tour. I don't know how that necessarily flows through the Korn Ferry, but does that chatter kind of go back and forth with you guys at all? Is there concerns? Is there opportunities now with the Live Tour and the PGA Tour now basically neck and neck, side by side, and stuff like that? From just a different tour perspective, where's that kind of in your guys' eyes?
Yeah, I mean, to answer the question of do they talk about it? I mean, Korn Ferry Tour players and caddies are literally the boys. Like they talk about it just like everyone does. Like we're all fans of golf, so everyone is talking about it. It's a topic of every encounter is a little bit about live. But I mean, what I'm going to say is nothing new. It's weird in the short term play for golf, but I think in the long term of golf, it's an awesome play. But it just is unknown of how long it will be until it's a good thing. It stinks that the talent is diluted between two major leagues. You want to see the best players compete against the best players, like period. That's what golfers and competitors want. It doesn't necessarily need to be live or PGA Tour. They really don't care. They want the best to compete against the best every week.
Yeah.
And to have that crown. So what I'm picking up is they really don't care how you call it. They love the game of golf. They want the game of golf to be unified and have everyone at the same tournaments. And then to your question of does it create more opportunity for us? Not so much in the current, like in terms of opportunities on the big stage. Not too much. I mean, golf is a ginormous game. There are thousands of guys vying for all these spots, and I think Liv has, and you might know better than me, maybe 80 golfers, 70 or 80.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number, but yeah, I mean it's definitely in that general area, if not less, right now.
Yeah, so it's like they have some awesome talent, but it's not like there's been a massive shift of like, oh shoot, there's a bunch of spots open for grab on the PGA Tour. It's I mean, at the end of the day, it's the same way to get into the PGA Tour as it has been. You got to finish top 30 at the end of this Korn Ferry Tour season, and you get your card. So that's kind of what we have. Our focus is, and it the live PGA Tour chatterbox literally is that's all it is for us. We don't know any more than the average consumer does. So we gossip about it just like talking heads do.
Yeah. I mean, and I think I've talked about this on prior recordings and prior episodes, and even like with just in general, with friends and family, when we're talking golf or watching it. And I keep telling everybody, in my personal opinion, I don't think we're leaps and bounds, but we're still a safe distance away from seeing any type of merger if there's one in the future. I'm with you. I think I don't like saying there's an asterisk against different tournaments when guys win, but at the same time, it's certain tournaments outside of the majors, we're not seeing all of the top golfers play against all the top golfers, which is ultimately, like you said, as consumers and fans of golf, that's really what we're always itching for. I mean, I think that's why the majors are the majors, right? And it's other tournaments where we don't get to see it, like a Waste Management or, as of recently, like the Genesis and stuff like that, where, like a John Rahm who won last year at one of those is now at Live, so he doesn't get to defend and stuff like that. It's I don't necessarily agree with, I think it was Taylor Gooch said, these are all going to have asterisks for all the guys that win because we're not there. I wouldn't take away anything from that aspect, but to his point, I get what he's saying. It's like, hey, you guys are winning tournaments, but there's about 50 of us that are if the rankings were legit and the OWGR, basically didn't reject the Live Tour guys, he's saying, hey, there's 50 of us that are probably in the top 50 that you guys aren't playing against. So just keep that in mind when we see you guys in Augusta for the ones that are invited for the first major. So yeah,
and that's where I was going to. It's like at least we have the majors to kind of settle all those debates, like in terms of asterisks and whatnot. It's like we got the big tournaments to kind of settle the competitive debate.
Yeah,
asterisks or not.
Yeah, I agree. Speaking of the majors, because I don't know, and the corn, personally, I don't know the Korn Ferry Tour. Like as far as like the different tournaments and courses that you guys are playing at each week throughout the year, and like the caliber of courses, I should say, or the tournaments. Is there like Korn Ferry majors at all, or something of like that sort?
No majors, but similar to like the FedEx Cup, we have, I believe, the final two events are playoff styled events. So I don't even. It's not nearly what it is on the PGA Tour, where it's like what top 70 and then 60 for St. Jude or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But this one's like 125, I believe, in standings. So the final two events of the year are not guaranteed to everyone technically, but it's a much larger scoop than the rest, or than PGA Tour. But no majors, no elevated events. It's the same purse for each event.
All right, sounds good. Well, hey JP, I appreciate your time joining us on That's Too Bad podcast here, talking us Corn Ferry and just talking golf with us. We appreciate your time. We're wishing you and Austin best of luck this season, and we're gonna check the leaderboards every week, see where you guys are at, and might reach out to you later this year. I know you guys are gonna have a busy schedule. Maybe down the line later this year, we can get you guys back on, maybe you and Austin, and check in on how the season's going for you guys. But we appreciate your time today, and yeah, let's have a good season this year.
Let's go. Yeah, looking forward to more appearances, and maybe I'll have some rookie hazing stories for you.
Yeah, there we go. I appreciate it.
Sweet. Thanks for having me on, Wally.
Yep, no problem. Thank you. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation I had with Korn Ferry caddy JP Burke. I know I had a blast having him on. It was a great conversation, and hopefully maybe we can get him back on here to give us an update later in the season on how everything's going and just what's going on with him and everything on the Korn Ferry Tour in general. But yeah, this wraps it up for me on That's Too Bad podcast. Don't forget, go listen, go share it, go on YouTube, go watch. I don't know why you would want to just watch me talk here in front of all these golf balls here that I got in my trophy case. But yeah, go share it, go like it, whatever you got to do. Let's, I appreciate it. Spreading the word of That's Too Bad golf podcast here. Don't forget, also go check it out. Shank It Golf. I'm not getting paid to advertise here. Shank It Golf, dope polos, dope hats, everything else. I'm rocking their golf bag, sick golf bag, and just different gear they got. Go check it out. Shank It Golf. Go to my social medias, my personal. Look up my code. Get a discount, everything else, all the fun stuff golf influencers do, right? I guess I'm trying to do the same here. But yeah, Shank It Golf, go check it out. Look good while you're playing, whether you're playing good or bad or even playing mini golf. You're going to feel good, you're going to look good. But yeah, this wraps it up for me. That's Too Bad podcast. And as always, let's go low.
Powered by Riverside.
That's too bad.